body not having enough oxygen is very bad for you.
Yeah. I used to have a Qigong master, and he'd come in and he could like point at you, right, from this far away, and you'd feel it. But like, feel it like to the, as palpable as someone pushing you around. It's like, whoa.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not kidding. It makes you wonder, like, how did they build the pyramids, you know? I mean, if he can use his mind and kind of get into quantum physics and move shit around with thought and with energy, there's actual energy coming out of his fingers. They could have built the pyramids like that. I don't know. He looks at you, and then he gives you a little body map, and he puts X's all over it, and you go, yeah, that's right. I got a pain here and a thing there.
Everything. He sees everything.
One day he's at me on my back, and he's pushing, and I can feel my back, and I'm at the wall. He's like down like this, like like kung fu, pointing rays of energy at me. And he hit me. He started yelling at my organ, at my liver, like, get out, you know, whatever. And I went up the wall, and there was like 8 inches of air under my heels. And I was up the wall, and I was like, whoa.
Oh, hi. Listen, it's been a while, I know, but there's a good reason for that. I've been busy. Anyway, let's get back to work. Joe, Mel, take it over, boys.
I regard the Gospels as history. It's verifiable history. Some people say, oh, it's a fairy tale. He never existed, but he did. And there are other accounts, verifiable historical accounts outside the biblical ones that also bear this up, that yes, he did exist.
There's an important distinction to be made here. Yes, the majority of biblical scholars today do accept that someone named Jesus of Nazareth did exist in Judea, but only 2 biblical events associated with Jesus' life have been accepted as historical events, aside from his actual existence: his baptism by John the Baptist and his crucifixion under Pontius Pilate. Everything else is just a matter of religious faith. This means that even if I do grant you that Jesus did exist and was crucified exactly as described in the Bible, this still grants 0 credence to the following claims. So, by accepting these claims, Mel Gibson is performing an unjustified leap of faith and is being irrational. The next point is just plain stupid.
And the other aspect of that is that all the evangelists, the apostles who went out there, every single one of those guys died rather than deny their belief. And nobody dies for a lie. Nobody.
Right.
So that's part of what I'm doing.
Nobody is claiming that the apostles died for a lie, because that's not the only option. The other option, aside from their claims being true, is that they died for something that they believed was true but wasn't. In other words, their beliefs were sincere and wrong. And I would even fight the main point, which is that nobody dies for a lie, because I also think that's wrong. I can certainly imagine a situation where people would lie even at the risk of losing their lives if their act ensures the survival of someone they love, for instance. Look at this scene. Here, the farmer is conflicted about betraying the people he's sheltering under his floor, which he eventually does anyway. But he does that simply because Colonel Landa threatens his family. Now, imagine that instead of some neighbors or acquaintances, it would be the farmer's own family underneath the floor. Do you think that the farmer would still deny their existence if Landa would threaten him with death? I think he would. And even if you disagree, surely you must agree that there are people who would do that. So this whole argument of the apostles were telling the truth because nobody would die for a lie is wrong on multiple accounts.
Yeah, well, the resurrection is the one that is the most difficult for people to swallow.
Yes.
That's the one that requires the most faith.
The most faith and the most belief, resurrection.
Yeah.
Who gets back up 3 days later after he gets murdered in public? Who gets back up under his own power? Buddha didn't do that shit.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah, Jesus didn't either. There's as much evidence for Jesus resurrecting from the dead as it is for Buddha's enlightened state. So.
You believe that was a real event?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What brought you to that belief? Is this something that you've always had, or is it something you studied it and you've come to this conclusion because of the historical accounts? And
Yes. I think so. As a child, you learn these things and you accept them on faith. And I still have that faith, but as I got older, I came to it through intellect and through reading and putting things together in accounts.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much reading and so-called accounts you're considering, believing in resurrection is still irrational, because you don't have accounts of resurrection. You have accounts of supposed accounts of resurrection. The Bible says that the apostles say that they saw Jesus alive after his death, but the biblical claims cannot be verified. So in reality, despite not being a child anymore, your belief doesn't hold any more weight than it did when you were.
You know.
so, what are your thoughts on evolution?
Wow. The Darwin thing?
Yeah.
I don't really go for it. I don't think I was some kind of legless thing that crawled out of the ocean. I don't think I came from that. I think I was created.
Alright, but do you think you were this legless thing that crawled out of another human being after initially crawling out of somebody's ballsack? That's pretty incredible, and I have the feeling that people like Mr. Mel Gibson would certainly find that unbelievable if it weren't such a trivial part of reality. Also, what you believe about this matter, Mr. Mel Gibson, is only relevant in the sense that it allows us to understand your opinions, but it bears no impact on the truth of the claim. So it doesn't matter whether you believe or rather accept that you came out of that legless thing that crawled out of the ocean. It only matters if that actually happened. And based on all the evidence we have today, it did.
So, do you believe that evolution exists in animals? Or do you think there's some sort of a natural selection process, or do you think that it is all intelligent design?
Well, I think everything was created, right? And maybe things do move on and adapt and change through time. But I think that that's a function of an intelligence also.
It's very weird to hear someone say they don't believe in evolution, but they do believe in creatures adapting to their environment and suffering changes over time. That aside though, what exactly does it add to the process of evolution, the statement that it is the product of an intelligent mind? Because when we assess the evolutionary process, we understand its mechanisms, we see what triggers certain changes in the animal and how those changes allow the animal to readjust to its environment, how those changes then pass on to its offspring, and how eventually new species are born as a result. Where does the intelligent mind fit into this? In other words, it appears as if the evolutionary process is self-sustaining, in which case claiming that it is the result of an intelligent mind adds nothing of value to the system, because it seems like the system works just fine without it.
So what do you think all these pre-human hominids are that they keep discovering?
Tell me what a pre-human hominid
Like
is.
Australopithecus,
All right.
or some of the other human-like creatures that never made it, like Denisovans, Neanderthals.
Yeah, stuff like that. Okay, well, they've got something called Zinjanthropus. You remember him?
No.
Zinjanthropus, man. And he was like, he looked kind of like this. But he was like, they looked at it and they did some core samples on it, and it was put out there by people advocating evolution, and they discovered that it was a human skull attached to the jaw of an ape.
Oh, I do remember
So it was
this.
a hoax.
Yeah, there's been some hoaxes.
Yeah.
What Gibson is talking about here is the Piltdown Man, which was indeed proven to be a hoax, as the fossil consisted of a human skull mixed with an orangutan's jaw and a chimpanzee's teeth. Nevertheless, this is a fallacious argument, because what Mr. Mel Gibson is suggesting here is that just because some fossil was discovered to be a hoax, then it logically follows that all other fossils we've ever discovered of pre-human hominids are hoaxes, or are very likely that they are, so we can easily dismiss them. It's like me saying that because Scientology is proven to be a fake religion, then it follows logically that Christianity is too. Except the conclusion doesn't follow logically in either of the situations. The fact that one, two, or even the majority of fossils are fake tells us nothing about the status of the remaining ones. We need to investigate each claim separately. And we did. And we have determined that they are legit. But that's not even the main issue. The main issue is actually that Mr. Gibson's belief makes no sense to begin with, because if science has faked all fossils to deceive us into accepting evolution, you have to believe that for some unexplained reason, the same scientific corpus someday decided, you know what, let's expose one of our fossils as being fake, just so that people would start questioning the legitimacy of the rest of the fossils, which is certainly something we don't want. It makes no sense.
You know, Australopithecus, there's a bunch of different, you know, the Lucy skeleton, there's a bunch of different pre-human hominids.
Yeah, maybe they were monkeys. I don't know. You know?
Yeah.
But-
Well, they're similar to us, just not where we are.
Yeah.
They're on the road to becoming what it means to be a human being.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you think those are?
I don't know. They could be animals, or they could be like, look at today. I mean, you can get some mosquito can bite you, and your kid can be born with a malformed skull or something. It's like, you know, they have those, you know.
Yeah, but this is like a genetic thing. Like they've mapped the genome of these creatures.
Oh, they have?
They're different. Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to explain those, Joe. I don't know.
Well, Mr. Gibson would actually know if he would understand evolution and be reasonable. If that was the case, he would explain those as evidence that pre-human hominids did exist. But because pre-human hominids are incompatible with his belief system, it's understandable why he would have difficulties explaining them, which is why he goes to every other possible explanation in the book, except to the explanation that's actually the most supported by the evidence. And that's because those alternative explanations don't conflict with his belief system. This is called starting with the conclusion and looking for the evidence to support it, which is precisely the opposite of what you need to do if you're interested in discovering the truth.
But you do think that human beings were created by God?
I do. Yeah.
When do you think that happened?
When? Oh, probably, and not that long ago.
Really?
No, not really.
Like, what do you mean by not that long ago?
Probably only about 8,000 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you think things like Göbekli Tepe are when they find these constructions that are carbon dated to 11,000 plus years old?
I question carbon dating.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
There's-
that makes things a lot simpler.
Well, yeah.
Yes, it does make things a lot simpler. Once you have a preconceived understanding of reality that you're really fond of and don't want to let go, all you have to do is simply reject anything that threatens it. The human fossil record? Meh, hoaxes. Evolution? I don't buy that. Carbon dating? I question it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of money in you know, claims, and I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in religion too, so I guess I could use that argument to dismiss every religious claim ever, right?
You serious?
You know, the entire human race was knocked down to a few thousand people.
Yeah.
At one point in time because of the Toba volcano.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, no light.
I found this segment to be very funny because it's clear as day that Mel Gibson has no clue who this Toba volcano guy is. You know how I know that? I know because the Toba volcano eruption took place 74,000 years ago, long before the universe, the earth and humans were ever created by God, according to Gibson's belief system. So him agreeing with Joe clearly shows that he has no knowledge of the event. Would have been even funnier though for Joe to expand on it and mention the age of the eruption and see where the that goes.
I'll tell you a good story.
Okay.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin.
Fenbendazole.
And fenbendazole. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride something or other.
There's studies on that now where people have proven that
People
they've
drinking methylene blue and stuff like that.
So, 3 people with stage 4 cancer getting cured using those remedies isn't a sample pool large enough to confirm the efficacy of those remedies. But it's certainly an interesting event. I assume your 3 friends recorded the entire process and were under professional medical investigation throughout, and their stories have actually been confirmed by the experts, right? We don't need to just take your word for it, Mr. Gibson, do we? Oh, we do. Well, excuse me if your anecdotes aren't convincing and cannot serve as evidence for anything.
Yeah.
This stuff works, man.
There's a lot of stuff that does work, which is very strange because, again, it's profit. When you hear about things that are demonized and that turn out to be effective, you always wonder, well, what is going on here? How is our medical institutions, how have they failed us so that things that do cure you are not promoted because they're not profitable?
Now that
Gibson
he's relinquished his king bonehead crown, I see we have an heir to the throne.
I hate to say this, but citation needed. You can't just claim with your mouth that the medical system doesn't promote effective treatments and refrains from curing diseases if it's not profitable. I mean, you can say it, I guess, but don't expect to be taken seriously when we have these diseases that the medical establishment did cure. Apparently, profit didn't matter in these specific cases, as well as all other cases where medicine actually contributed to controlling and eradicating various health problems. But we all know Joe won't let these facts of reality get in the way of his beloved conspiracy theory. He just picks and chooses which facts to believe based on what? I don't even know, to be honest. I mean, look at this.
I have a sauna, red light bed. I have a hyperbaric chamber.
Wow.
I have everything.
Okay. Hyperbaric chambers are the best, man.
It's incredible.
Good
Incredible.
brain work. I got to get back in there.
Oh.
I feel like I got more holes in my head.
It's phenomenal for just overall recovery for everything, and it's also been shown to lengthen telomeres. They did a study out of Israel. Yeah, they gave people a protocol over 90 days. You do 60 sessions of 90 minutes over 90 days, and it's shown to lengthen telomeres and decrease your biological age.
Okay.
And you just feel fucking great.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, you're flooding your body with oxygen. Most diseases, a lot of them, come from a lack of oxygen. You know, your body not having enough oxygen is very bad for you.
See, on the one hand, he claims that the medical establishment keeps treatments away from people because they've deemed them unprofitable. But then he claims that the same medical establishment has created hyperbaric chambers that help with disease treatment and prevention because, I don't know, they no longer care about profit then. It's like Joe thinks in segments and he doesn't put them together to form a coherent worldview. To close things out, let's have a taste of the juiciest part of the interview.
I used to have a Qigong master. This is what kind of blows my mind about medicine and about ancient stuff. And he'd come in and he could like point at you, right, from this far away, and you'd feel it, but like feel it like as palpable as someone pushing you around. It's like, ugh, ugh.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not kidding. It makes you wonder, like, how did they build the pyramids? You know, I mean, if he can use his mind and kind of get into quantum physics and move shit around with thought and with energy, there's actual energy coming out of his fingers. They could have built the pyramids like that. I don't know. Maybe somebody had that down somewhere. But
Well, I'd like to hear a better explanation.
me too. Well, it was really weird. One time he was working on me, and he was working on my liver. He said, "Your liver's blocked," because he looks at you, and if you look at him, he looks away. And his wife engages you while he checks you out. And then he gives you a little body map, and he puts X's all over it. And you go, yeah, that's right. I got a pain here and a thing there. I can't move! You know, he knows where everything is. He knows exactly what's going on.
Did you ask him what is he seeing your aura? Like, what is he seeing?
Everything. He sees everything. One day he's at me on my back, and he's pushing, and I can feel my back, and I'm at the wall. And he hit me. He started yelling at my organ, at my liver, like, get out, you know, whatever. And I went up the wall, and there was like 8 inches of air under my heels. And I was up the wall, and I was like, whoa, and I came back down. It freaked me out. And I looked at him, and he just went, he said, don't die, it's just science. And I went to a priest. I said, is this guy demonic or something? Because he's lifting me off the wall.
I don't even know what to say to this other than, if you believe that everything happened exactly as Mr. Gibson described it, nothing I can ever say will make a shit spit of difference anyway. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Mel Gibson would agree with me.
I don't know, I need to take a pee. I'm so
Okay,
desperate.
let's take a peek.
Well, fuck it. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Like, share, subscribe, comment for the algorithm, and
I'll catch you on the flip side.